What's up everybody? It's Monday, February 17th, and today I'm going to share 10 tips on how to stay productive as a college student. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Jason. I'm a computer engineering senior at Brown University, and I'm also the president of our Engineering Honor Society. So I know a thing or two about maintaining good grades and staying productive. Now what do I mean about being productive? It's not just about maintaining good grades, doing research, internships, extracurriculars. It also means staying productive mentally and physically. So my first tip for you guys is wake up earlier. Holy it's cold. Okay, so I had to leave the house to talk about this because all my roommates were asleep. But my first tip is waking up earlier. This tip is super easy, well, easier said than done. This tip is something you can start doing tomorrow. It's something that I started doing this year actually, and I found that my productivity has gone through the roof. I used to be like a lot of college students and wake up at like 11 a.m., 12 p.m., maybe 1. You know, I went to bed at 2 a.m. scrolling on TikTok. But I decided to start waking up earlier, and you know, instead of going to bed at 2, waking up at 12, bed at like 12 or 1 and wake up at 7 or 8. You know, I'm still getting 7-8 hours of sleep, but I have now unlocked so many more hours in the day. But simply by waking up earlier, I get to go to the gym every day, go for runs, and read books, which, you know, I didn't really do before this. So since doing this, waking up earlier, I've hit the gym every single day. I've hit a run every other day, and I've done that consistently for the 3 months I've been doing this. And I've read 3 books. Prior to that, I don't think I've read a book for fun since high school, like 4 years ago. And another incredible thing is I get to work on my app. That's a side project I didn't have time for when I was waking up at, you know, midday, afternoon. And I still have all the time in the world to work on academics and extracurriculars. I didn't lose any time. The time I spent working on academics hasn't changed, but the time I gained has, and it allowed me to do many more things. I know it's easy to say, oh, just wake up earlier. It's a simple thing, but in reality, the simple things are what works. But easier said than done. So how did I end up waking up at 7, 8 o'clock every single day? Well, the honest truth is that it was hard. In the first week, it was difficult. The way I did it may be different for everyone, but I recommend just, you know, setting 10 alarms for 7 a.m., 7:01, 7:02, 7:04, 7:05, etc. Studies find that you have to make a decision in less than 3 seconds. Otherwise, you're going to hesitate and likely make the wrong decision. So when you wake up, I want you to think immediately that you know you have 3 seconds to wake up. Otherwise, you probably won't. If you do that, odds are you'll be able to get up in time, and it's going to suck for about a week. I think it took me a week before my body naturally started waking up at 7. But don't get discouraged. Just keep doing it. If you fail a few times, it's okay. 85% of the way done is better than 0%. It is so windy. It's so windy. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is it takes approximately 21 to 66 days to build a new habit. So if you could keep waking up at 7 a.m. for that amount of time, you'll be solid. Alright guys, my second tip is start the day with a win. And this could be anything. It could be going to the gym, going for a run, reading a book. Just wake up and do that one thing. If you start the day with a small win, you enter the day with having accomplished something, and you have a lot of momentum to move throughout the day. For me, I like to go on a run or hit the gym. Being physically and mentally refreshed is a great way to kind of clear my mind and go into the day knowing that I have at least done something already. Sam Altman had this really good quote. I always thought that burnout and lack of motivation comes from working too hard. And that's actually not the case. Burnout actually comes from failing and things not working. So momentum is really energizing, and the lack of momentum is really draining. So that's why I recommend for tip 2 is starting your day out moving. Okay, my third tip is do your work early. And what I mean by early is like literally do it the day it comes out. Now, when you hear that, you might think it's overkill, but in my opinion, I've done this for like 3 years. And doing your work right when it starts means, 1, you get probably one-on-one access with any TAs or professor. Like odds are there's not many people doing it on the very first day. So you have first come, first serve privilege. The second being, if you do it right when it comes out, get it out of the way. It might take a few hours, but you have the rest of the week basically to do whatever you want. I always do my work whenever they get released. Odds are it's probably on a Monday or a Friday. That leaves me the entire week to either do other work that I just couldn't finish or just do whatever I want. So I do all my work in one day, it's gone the rest of the week. Obviously, there are scenarios where homework takes longer than one day, more so than a few hours. Trust me, I've had plenty of those classes, but if you start on the first day, you get a massive, massive head start and you never feel like you're rushed. I, in 4 years of Brown, have never had to deal with meeting a last minute deadline just because I start so early. My fourth tip is ask questions in lecture if you have one. Now, super generic advice, right? Like, of course you ask questions, but you'd be surprised about the number of people who actually just don't ask questions. And I found that, my first 2 years, I was kind of scared to ask questions in lecture, especially when it's like a 200-person lecture and I'm the only one raising hands. But like genuinely, if you're like confused about a concept, it's not gonna get explained to you later down the line. It's better to like ask that question and understand what's going on so the rest of the lecture makes sense instead of just having like this blank missing piece of knowledge and the rest of the lecture doesn't quite add up. So really that little time that you spend fixing your confusion while there is an answer can save you a lot of time in the long run. I remember like in my electricity and magnetism class, I had a question regarding induction. I didn't ask it, and I spent the next 3 hours when I got home trying to figure it out because the professor didn't explain it that well in class. If I had just asked for clarification then, it would have saved me 3 whole hours, right? And imagine like the rest of the lecture is about induction. Then I'd be sitting there like, what's going on? I have no idea. None of this makes sense. And then you're just wasting time. So tip 4, ask your question. It really doesn't hurt. All right, tip 5 is go to office hours if you are stuck on a problem for more than 30 minutes. Let's say you're doing your homework, maybe it's like a problem set or something, and you're really stuck. You're searching the internet, you're asking friends, you're just stuck. You've been at it for like 15 minutes, you're going nowhere. Just go to office hours. Like if they're available, just go.
Showing motor speed.
Right.
You change the duty cycle.
Odds are after 30 minutes, it's not going to come to you any faster, right? You might as well just like cut your losses, go to office hours, and odds are you're going to have your answer. What you really want to avoid is a situation in which like 30 minutes turns into 3 hours. Now that would be a really big waste of time when again, if office hours is available, problem solved. Right, it's all about being efficient with your time. And being stuck without a solution, probably going through the same thoughts in your head, trying to fix it over and over and over. It's not very efficient. So go to office hours. It'll make your life really easy. The biggest example I could think of it was freshman year here at Brown. In my second semester, I had to take Engine 40, which was Engineering Dynamics and Vibrations, which is a notoriously really hard weed out class for engineering. And I won't lie, like it was hard. It was genuinely hard. So what I would do is I found that the office hours TAs were really, really helpful. So I would actually, before I even start the homework, go to office hours, start my homework there, and I never got stuck on a question for more than like 10 minutes. And the TAs helped me walk through the entire thing. So having the TAs there helped me finish really fast. It's out of the way, I have the entire week left, finished the homework, and I probably have a better understanding because the TAs walked me through to make sure I understood the content. So that class, like super hard and ended with an A. Like it's super doable. Just take advantage of the resources that are there for you. It's literally free. Okay, so you're probably thinking like, what if office hours isn't open? Great question. And to that, I will say, if you're stuck for more than 30 minutes and the office hours aren't available, just stop. Take a break. Go on a walk, 20 minutes, or generally just stop for the day, at least for that specific homework. Again, as I was mentioning, like you're probably not gonna get it within the next 30 minutes. Like after 30 minutes, you spend a decent amount of time trying to figure it out. Odds are that 30 minutes is gonna extend to a few hours. Waste of time. So start a new subject, do your other homework, move on. Start it the next day. I found that, at least for me personally, I guess everyone's different, but odds 9 times out of 10, it's probably once you're stuck, your brain is kind of like in a certain mode and it starts to like spiral into this circular chain of thought of trying to fix it, and you don't really go anywhere. So by taking a break and coming back to it, you're refreshed the next day. Like I cannot tell you how many times I have come back the next day and thought to myself, what am I doing? Here's what I did wrong. It came out in like 30 seconds. And it's like the most obvious thing that you were missing, but at the time, you just not put a finger on it. So if you're stuck for 30 minutes, office hours ain't available, just start the next day. The biggest example I could think of is when I was taking Engine 1640, which was the hardware computer architecture class here at Brown. And I'd be in the lab working on this homework for like this one homework, we had to design our own processor. I think I put in like at least 50 hours.
You guys can record that later. No, okay. Should we start?
Okay, up to you.
No, we're gonna just keep going.
Okay. Wait,
And I cannot tell you how many times I got stuck debugging this damn processor, and I just stopped, came back the next day, I fought. Trust me, there was a real urge just to keep pushing. Like, it is a genuine thing you have to fight against. Just stop. I come back the next day, and I'm like, I immediately see what I was doing wrong. Just that refresh in your brain is so valuable. So just don't waste your time. Just do another thing. Be productive. And circling back to what I was mentioning about starting your homework the day it gets released, if you do this method, when you get stuck, there's no deadline to wait for. Like, if you just wait, just like pick up where you started the next day, it's not like the due date's tomorrow. You know, you have plenty of time to reset. So that's step 6. If you're stuck for more than 30 minutes and office hours aren't available, just stop what you're doing. Either go take a 20, 30-minute walk, do literally anything else, or start the next day. And I guarantee you, you'll pick up where you left off and immediately see what you're doing wrong. Okay guys, tip 7 is find your study friends. Now, what I mean by that is they can be your normal hangout everyday friend group friends. I personally really like to find, like, if you don't share classes with those people, find your study friends. Like, your friends that you will text when you have a problem set that you have a question on, text when you want to do a study group for a midterm. These are the students who you want to surround yourself with. And these people should ideally be people who are smarter than you. And trust me, they're out there. Just find the people who are setting the curve and, you know, befriend them, ask to study with them, ask for tips. You can learn a whole lot from other people, right? Like, think about the last time you took an exam and you saw like the high on the exam was like 100 and the median was like a 53 or something. Obviously, that's a pretty extreme example. But find that person who's doing the 100. Like, how are they doing so well? What study habits do they have? What are they studying that you're not? There's so much you can learn from successful people. Like, I remember in high school, I had a friend named Desmond. Desmond, if you're watching this, shout out. Love you, bro. But Desmond was someone who I would call every time before we had an AP history exam. I'd call up Desmond and we would just ask each other questions back and forth about questions that we thought were going to be in the exam. And just, it's helpful to have someone who like also is striving to do well and holds you accountable. So find people who you can rely on that can help explain concepts back and forth, ask each other questions, and lift each other up together. Okay, tip 8, and this is for when you have an exam. Now, this tip isn't for everyone, but it's something that I personally have found very effective, and I think is a very general rule of thumb that could be applied to anyone. And tip 8 is do all the practice exams. Now, I know it's a little overkill, and it's really up to you to determine like your level of confidence, but practice exams, if they're offered, are there to help you. Odds are they're the same format, or they might even have the same questions as your exam. So doing all of them, it's a very overkill method, but it's a very surefire method. You'll know every kind of question that could possibly be thrown at you, and if you're scoring well in these practice exams, you'll probably do well for the exam. So I understand that method by just doing all the practice exams is kind of overkill. I tend to favor on the side of overkill, which, you know, isn't like the most optimal approach to study. It's a safe one, but not the most optimally time efficient. So a compromise that I think works really well, that I do myself, is tip number 9. So for when it comes to exam season, tip number 9 is to create a list of all the subjects that could possibly be on the exam, and you should rank them from, you know, very confident, somewhat confident, and not confident at all. And for me, that just basically means writing down all the concepts or subjects and then highlighting them with different colors, with each color corresponding to how confident I was in that topic. So if you want to be really efficient with your time, don't even bother studying the ones that you're confident in. Like maybe like a 15-minute review at most, but just skip to the ones that you are somewhat confident in and not confident in at all. So by studying the concepts that you aren't confident in, you're saving yourself a lot of time. Like you're not gonna not know things that you're confident in. So focus on what needs to be improved. This saved me so many hours in studying. I used to study everything freshman year, hence why I did all the practice exams, not the most efficient, to switching over to a system that focused only on my weaknesses, which I really recommend you do as well. Again, things work differently for everybody, but this is something that I found really works for me. So tip number 10 when it comes to learning, being productive, and studying is explaining concepts to like your friends, or it could be like literally an inanimate object. Like, see that plant over there? Like try to explain, like I sometimes just talk to this plant. I would act like a teacher and try to explain to this plant what, I don't know, a certain subject may be about, how to solve a certain problem. And the reason I say this is because if you can explain a topic really well to someone who may not know the topic, you are then an expert on that topic, or at least you're very like knowledgeable. I find that explaining is the best way to learn. And again, if like you don't have a study friend, find a plant. In computer science, they say like a rubber duck, like they have like a little rubber ducky toy that you talk to and walk through your problem when you're debugging code. It's the same concept. So that's tip number 10. Hi guys, so that's 10 tips to stay productive in college. And you know, this can range from being academically productive, physically, mentally. These are just things that I found work for me, and it's up to you to find a balance for what works for you. But seriously though, regardless, I really recommend waking up early. Like that'll save you so much time. But hope you guys enjoy the video and be sure to look out for more.